Tony Yengeni prepares to walk free from prison after spending less than 5 months behind bars. Get those dialing fingers ready. Telkom will implement its 10-digit dialing system next week. And the Proteas close in on victory in the first test against Pakistan at Centurion.
This is going to earn it.
This is E-News Prime Time. A very good evening. Jacob Zuma has paid convicted fraudster Tony Yengeni a visit on his last day behind bars. Yengeni will be released from Malmesbury prison tomorrow, having served just a few months of a 4-year sentence for fraud.
Tony Yengeni's hero's send-off when he began serving his sentence in August. A scene that's likely to be repeated when he leaves the prison compound, less than 5 months into his 4-year jail term. During his sentence, there were repeated allegations that Yengeni was getting special treatment, and opposition parties reckon it'll be no different once he's free.
Like with his imprisonment, his correctional services conditions are likely to be very, very mild indeed.
Correctional Services is refusing to disclose the exact details of Yengeni's release, but several high-profile ANC members are expected to welcome him. There have been reports that Yengeni's family will be throwing a big bash at the family home here in Gugulethu to celebrate his release. But his sister, who refused to go on camera, denies this and says the family will just be spending quiet time together. And that's probably for the best, as Yengeni's correctional supervision conditions state he's not allowed to consume any alcohol or be in the company of more than a handful of people at a time. For the next year, Yengeni will need to be at home between certain hours and perform at least 16 hours of community service a week. Correctional Services says they'll be watching closely, and if he's found to be violating these rules at any time, he may well find himself back behind bars. Amy Brooke, E-News, Cape Town.
A Johannesburg businessman is taking government to court to try and get rid of the squatters on his land. He says officials have promised to find an alternative patch of land for the squatters, but 12 years on and he's seen no action.
Harilal Ajuda bought 10 hectares of land in 1994. His recycling business was doing well and Ajuda needed more space. He also planned to make money by reselling some of the land to developers. But soon, 6 families settled on the land illegally. Ajuda says the local municipality promised it would be temporary, but 12 years on, and the 6 families have grown to 600. Ajuda wants government to do something and fast, but he says officials are giving him the runaround.
Every time you go to the housing department here in Lenasia South, the guys are being fired or being transferred to another division. You can't get anything done here. Only promises, only promises.
Officials have promised Ajuda they'll find alternative land for the squatters. But the squatters say they've been promised more basic services.
Even my house is no toilet. Water is a problem this side. Toilet is a problem, no light this side.
After talking to E-News, Ajuda paid another visit to the municipality. This time, the official he was scheduled to meet was nowhere to be found. Now at the end of his tether, Ajuda is taking the matter to his lawyer, saying he'll see the council in court. Macintosh Nzimande, E-News, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, government has completed an investigation into a housing project that allegedly swindled prospective homeowners out of their money. The Mamas project saw the Western Cape's Housing Department and a community-based project join forces. They were meant to build 370 low-cost houses, but all that's really come of the project is a slew of allegations of maladministration, fraud and the theft of millions in taxpayers' money.
All Zaid Watson wants is a home for his family. He thought the Mama's housing project would be the answer to his prayers. It promised to build 370 low-cost houses. So Watson paid a deposit of 12,800 rand and waited for his home to materialize. But 5 years on, and the project has only managed to deliver 22 houses. Watson cancelled his application but has yet to see a cent of his money.
I don't know who to phone anymore due to the fact that the leader of the project has passed on, so it's kind of difficult.
And Watson isn't the only one left out of pocket and out in the cold. The Housing Ministry has completed an investigation into alleged corruption and mismanagement in the project. One of the officials responsible for the project is holed up behind these tightly drawn curtains. She retreated into the safety of her house as soon as she saw us approaching. All we wanted was to get her side of the story. Hello? But they might not be able to hide for much longer. The Housing Department is now looking at possible criminal charges against the project managers.
It may mean a jail term. It may mean a person will have to repay whatever monies that have been fraudulently taken.
The local housing MEC is expected to decide on a course of action before the end of the month. Lukhanya Kalata, E-News, Cape Town.
Elsewhere on the continent, the Somalian government has declared a 3-month state of emergency amid fears of a return to clan violence after weeks of war ousted Islamist rebels. Government forces, backed by Ethiopian troops, drove the rebels out of the capital, Mogadishu, 6 months after they occupied it.
The streets of Somalia's cities, now under a state of emergency. It's part of a broader presidential peace plan and will, amongst other things, ban demonstrations and the possession of weapons. There are fears that clan violence could scupper the progress made towards peace in the troubled nation. So Somalia's president has called on ethnic clan leaders to be part of the solution.
What we need from your clan are the militias and the fighters that you have in here or in the Mudug region. You have to hand them over to the government, and we will train them as government security officers, such as police and military.
While many of Somalia's warlords have pledged to join their militias with a government force, some fleeing Islamists have vowed to continue fighting.